If you have established yourself as a property inventory clerk, you'll be well aware of the very specific skills and abilities the job demands. If you're at the start of the career, you'll learn them very, very quickly. A successful inventory clerk balances very strong interpersonal skills with a highly organised and precise approach to attention to detail. So while you don't need formal technical knowledge of, say, structural or electrical issues, you're very quickly going to gather a very solid grounding in a lot of areas that maybe you didn't have experience in before. It's not a job for the impatient or the easily discouraged because there's a lot of work involved. Performing your duties takes time, it takes perseverance, but also requires speed, energy and efficiency. Ultimately, the role of an inventory professional is all about assessing the innumerable aspects of the physical environments of the property and also play an important part in the smooth running of a private landlord's portfolio and, of course, the agent's business. A key point to make here is that because working life of an inventory clerk does not follow a 9-to-5 structure, conducting property reports or multiple inspections one after the other, maintaining a full workload is extremely challenging. It can be very, very tiring as well. Most clerks are self-employed, so your livelihood is often depending on getting as many jobs as possible, which is why both in slow periods and as part of your business planning, you should really think about how the skills you use in your primary work can be transferred to other vital processes and work opportunities. Here at Inventory Based Academy, I always advise inventory clerks to take the widest possible view of their capabilities and consider how they can find comparable work that utilises both your skills and your knowledge base. Let's look at some of the opportunities available here. Risk assessments. The concept of risk assessments in public places and work environments was introduced as a legal requirement only in 1992. As it applies in so many situations, any assessment needs to be carried out with tremendous care and professionalism. It's not enough to walk around a private rental property, a school building site or factory with just a clipboard ticking loads of boxes, thinking it's going to be an easy thing to do. It's a very proactive inspection. It involves looking ahead, thinking creatively and making connections between what is and what might happen. In most cases, you're already carrying out a risk assessment as you enter a normal everyday property when you're doing inventory reports. This is called a dynamic risk assessment. But a more detailed assessment of the property, such as fitness for human habitation, looks at a mandated list of at least 29 key elements that determine whether a property is safe for tenants and also their visitors. So the skills and experience of a property inventory clerk are perfectly suited to the role, but you should undertake appropriate training so that you can competently assess the property and make sure that you give a good service. Energy performance certificates. This is a specialised technical practice that requires formal qualifications to be a domestic energy assessor. There's a lot of people who are EPC trained, but there's also more coming into the market. Now, in order to work as a domestic energy assessor, you'll need to complete a Level 3 certificate in domestic energy assessment and also become a member of an approved accreditation scheme because it's all mandated within law. But your skills as an inventory professional will be relevant when understanding the legal requirements to assess the property. They will include attention to detail, analytical thinking, verbal communication, flexibility, and the same level of IT knowledge that you already have, in your own inventory skill set. All these skills you've already been developing using inventory-based property management software, so the IT side shouldn't be too much of a difficulty. The kind of issues you'll be called on to assess the property when carrying out an EPC is the size, the nature and extent of insulation, the heating, the ventilation provisions, the absence or presence of double or triple glazing, construction type, and the kind of interior lighting used. You'll need to inspect the entire property, including any loft space, taking pictures and measurements. So a head for heights is essential, I would argue, but in essence, it's not much different from what you're already accustomed to doing as an inventory provider. The only difference here will be is the fact that you will actually be going up a ladder, going into loft space, which normally as an inventory provider you would not do. So you need to make sure that you've got a relevant training in working at height and also that you're insured correctly. The number of vacant buildings, both domestic and commercial, is very noticeable. So this is why void checks are going to be so important going forward. You can only have to walk down your high street to see exactly how many properties are both shut and or in disrepair. And every one of these apparently abandoned properties is owned by someone, and whether they've been retired, i.e. the property, pending demolition or refurbishment, or simply yet haven't found a tenant, they remain assets of quite considerable value. Now, their empty status makes them very vulnerable to vandals, to criminals, and also to squatters. And we only have to look at recent headlines in regards to properties in London where this has become an issue. And even without human interference, they can fall into disrepair and structural decline very, very quickly. This means they need to be thoroughly checked on a regular cycle so that faults can be identified while remedial work be done and before irreversible damage is done. So you, as an inventory professional, you're perfectly suited to this role. So it's a potential body of work you definitely need to explore. Viewing and property pictures. Now, estate agents are quite open to contracting out some of their responsibilities when it comes to the sale and of the property and the sale side of the property industry. It's very common to find staff or viewing services showing prospective buyers and tenants around properties, particularly at weekends. Just one viewing alone can take quite a number of hours out of an agent's day, so it really does make sense for them to outsource this particular body of work. The same goes to taking the photographs and assembling any other property information that often goes into a sales marketing pack. Who better to outsource these jobs than to a professional who spends their day inspecting properties, i.e. you? If you plan it well, you can easily intersperse visits with your own inspection, saving everybody time and augmenting your income. Walkthrough tours. Technological advances are changing the way landlords and estate agents and vendors deal with tenants and buyers. The walkthrough tour has become an extremely effective way of giving interested parties a comprehensive first sight of property without actually having to go there first. And this actually then eliminates a lot of the time that an agent will spend trying to kind of trawl through all the applications, get people visiting the property that really, to be honest with you, aren't interested. So if they want the ability to see the property, just to have a good look round, then obviously walkthrough tours are the ideal vehicle. Now, the tour itself needs to be constructed thoughtfully and thoroughly with the kind of attention the average estate agent may not have time in the diary to give, not through any lack of professionalism, but simply because that kind of close precision maybe is not necessarily in their toolbox, and quite rightly, they're going to be wanting to spend their time doing work that's actually going to generate revenue for them. However, you, as an inventory professional, it is simply a case of creating a visual report, slanted towards market, like the marketing side, rather than providing detailed condition and damage information. So again, you're the perfect candidate for this kind of role. The other types of options that you could look at from a commercial point of view are things that maybe not necessarily in your skill set, but what you could do is actually then outsource them. And Inventory Base has got the ideal vehicle for that, which is work streams. And with work streams, you can literally pair up with other providers in order to be able to offer services that, like I said, outside your skill set, but your clients still want, but it means then you can still deliver quite big packages. So what do these ones include? So they include gas safety, which is regulated, and you need a gas safety engineer to be able to do that kind of work. Electrical safety, EICR, came in last April. So again, you'd need to get someone in that is suitably qualified to be able to provide that safety report. Legionella risk assessments. Now, these are something that you could do yourself, but I would definitely recommend that you get appropriate training so that you know what you're doing, because Legionella can kill. So if you're going to be doing a risk assessment, you need to know what you are doing. Now, we do have a Legionella risk assessment guide and template on Inventory Base and in Inventory Base Academy, so you can have a look at that, and they're all geared towards the Health and Safety Executive Guide on how to carry out Legionella risk assessments. You've also got fitness for human habitation risk assessments. Now, with levelling up with the Section 21 about to be abolished and the general white paper that the government are issuing, Fitness for human habitation or decent standard of homes is definitely coming into play right now. Now, fitness for human habitation has been about since 2018. However, most agents, landlords don't do them, but they are a really good vehicle. It's a great way of assessing the property, getting on top of all the issues early before they become a problem. And again, inventory base has a template for risk assessments, whether you want it a detailed risk assessment or not so detailed, and also the guidance for that is in the Inventory Based Academy. You've also got the option for commercial inventories. Now, this is not something that a lot of inventory providers do, but it's definitely within your skill set, because what it does mean is that you are carrying out an inventory on a property, but it just happens to be a commercial, which they tend to be bigger. They don't tend to need as much detail in regards to odd marks, odd fixings, etc. But what they do need to know is the general layout of the property, an understanding of its condition, what's included, and also sometimes an asset register that comes sometimes with a cost as well. So they're totally within your skill set to be able to do that. And this also includes things like asset registers. So again, looking at how many tables or office tables or chairs are in the property that are equipment. It could be mechanical equipment, it could be IT equipment. So you can create asset registers using the inventory-based templates that we have. You've also got block management reports and assessments. Often the commercial, sorry, not the commercial side, the internal side and outside the building all needs to be assessed and reported on, and often these have to be done on a yearly basis. So again, it's well worth having a look at this. Snagging reports from December 2022, so this year, depending on when you're viewing this recording, that is actually becoming a legal requirement in regards to the new homes guide that's coming out. So it's a whole body of work around new homes and how they should be managed, going from construction through to the actual issue of selling, snagging, and making sure that the buyer is getting their money's worth and also are equally protected. So snagging reports are definitely something that is, again, within your skill set. You've got cleaning and maintenance services. Now, cleaning and maintenance services, some would argue that that's a potential conflict of interest, because if you're cleaning the property that you're then carrying out an inventory or checkout report on, that could be seen as conflict of interest. They are not mutually exclusive. It doesn't necessarily mean you can't do them, but what it does mean is you've got to be very careful and make sure that your setup in regards to who reports when, how it's done is very open, above board, and very clear and transparent. So should there be any concerns or issues raised, you're able to allay any potential fears. You've also got home surveys. Now, again, this is specialist, so you need to be a qualified surveyor. Often these are RIC surveyors, who could also be an RPSA surveyor, but it does mean, though, that you've got the ability to outsource those work with work streams for your clients, working with other surveyors. And don't forget, surveys can also include things like drones and thermal imaging. There's a whole raft of potential options within that particular service provision. So it's definitely well worth having a look. And then you've also got things like gardening services and maintenance. Again, like I said, that could be within your skill set, and it might be something that you'd want to add on to your property services. So maybe not look at it necessarily as an inventory service, but certainly a property service. Again, you could outsource that using work streams or do that in-house, and then you use the templates within Inventory Base to actually provide the evidence of what you've done, quotes, tasks, etc. They can all be done in Inventory Base. So the skills and knowledge, and determination, these are the things that we all need, no matter what work of life we're in order to do that body of work. But certainly for an inventory provider, skills, knowledge and determination are very much key. And the examples I've just given you in regards to the different types of services you could employ are just some examples into which your inventory and investigative skills could enable you to diversify your service offerings, as well as provide insights into other areas of the property industry. It's not an exhaustive list, so you should definitely keep your eyes open and be open-minded for all the opportunities, as often they come often by chance, by conversations or out of the need when the agent or landlord are struggling and need a bit of help. So always look at what else you could do, look at what else is going on in the industry, and keep the dialogue open. Maintain your relationships with your client base, because then often they will then refer to you if they've got a problem that maybe they don't necessarily think that you might be able to help, but they certainly be able to talk to you. And then that way, then you can say, okay, well, I can't do that now, but that's something I might be able to do later on with maybe a little bit of training or a little bit of extra work, or designing a template, again, which inventory base can help you with. So the important thing to remember here is that you are very much qualified for more than one role. You so are. So don't stay in your lane and don't meet the expectations of others. Look to redefine yourself and your service by making the most of what you're good at, but also extend yourself. Being an inventory provider is not a 9-to-5 job. It really isn't. So within that, you can then really do a lot of different things that are not curtailed by the normal working day, the normal working week. So to be able to diversify your services will really make you stand out. And also it's kind of highlighting what you do well, and also it makes you extend yourself. It makes you learn and hone your skills so that you'll quickly see the benefits, and so will your company and your service. So for more information on training, so if you want to become an accredited CPD accredited inventory provider, you can visit Inventory Base Academy here, academy.inventorybase.com. If you want some more information, you can email us at academy@inventorybase.com, or you can call us on 0333 444 505 for more information. I hope that's been really useful for you, and thank you for listening.